Hey everyone, we're so happy to be with you today. I have some very special people who are both friends and awesome musicians at Makers. So we're going to talk a little bit about our new EP that we released within the past month and just talk a little bit about how some of the songs came to be and just some of the stories behind them. So happy to have you guys here with me today. I'm Martha. For those of you who don't know me, I am a worship leader at Makers, and I also am on staff and lead our production team. And I will let the other guys introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their musical background. So, Justin Wright, go for it.
Hey everybody, my name is Justin. People call me Juice. It's a long story. If you ever see me again in person, I can go over that story. I do a lot of music stuff and doing a lot of music production, recording, engineering for, 10 or so years. And I used to tour a lot, and then now mostly do all studio work and like composing for like films or documentaries, as well as studio work for different bands, artists, that kind of stuff. So
cool. Steve Whitmer, you're up next.
Hey guys. So my background has been pretty much exclusively with worship. I grew up singing on the band at my church back in Pennsylvania since I was like 15, 16, and have just been like, doing it at every church that I've attended since then. One person's like, you sing, you get up there and sing. So that's really been my history. And I'm just a vocalist, right? If you go to Makers, you've seen me singing. I don't play guitar, really. I mean, I can dabble, but so I just like
ukulele,
a little bit of uku. But yeah, just the vocal cords over here. And so yeah, this process has been pretty cool because I haven't really gotten to be a part of writing songs and recording much. So I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So humble, just the vocalist.
I know, I was thinking that as well. Like, yeah. Anyway, Pastor Marc, on to you. You are a familiar face around here, but tell us a little bit about your musical background.
Yeah. So at Makers, I help oversee worship and production and creative arts and musical background. So my mom plays piano. So when I was a kid, she used to bust out Maple Leaf Rag and Entertainer. I don't know if you know Scott Joplin stuff.
yes.
My brother and I would like dance around the house. And so I took piano lessons for about a year when I was a kid. Super traditional, classical, hated it. And then my biological dad was a musician. He passed away when I was a kid. My brother discovered his guitar in the attic when he was like 13 and was like, what is this? And started learning it. And I'm like, well, I want to be in a band with him. So my mom, against her better judgment, let me learn to play drums. So she bought me a drum kit, which was so nice looking back because it was so loud and I was terrible for a long period of time. And my brother and I just played in rock bands all through high school, college even. I was in a lot of weird bands. I was in a Dave Matthews cover band.
Carter. You were Carter.
Wow.
Dude, I was Carter Bumford. I was in a Parliament and Cool in the Gang cover band. I was played a lot of Michael Jackson stuff. I was in an emo band called Downces Day One, DSD1.
That's a good name. That's a
so
good name.
down.
A lot of stuff.
So down.
That's so uplifting.
So down since day one. So much emotion.
Yeah.
And then I became a believer at the end of high school. And then in college, I got involved in doing like worship at a church. A friend of mine kind of wrote me in. And then when I moved to San Diego, I was still my senior year of college. Same buddy who at that time I'd kind of stopped going to church a little bit. Long story short, he wrote me in to play drums at a church that would later become a thing called Ethos, which would become a thing called Mosaic, which would become Makers, is what we are now. So music is really what drew me into the church. And so I'm a drummer primarily, but I also play keys. I can fake it on guitar or bass if needed, as you've seen sometimes when during COVID, we're trying to, limit who's in a room and whatnot. So anyways, like Steve said, super fun. I haven't been a part of a writing project in a really long time. So it's been so fun working with Justin and the team. It's been an awesome experience. So
Awesome. Yeah, I think that I mean, I know we all have our own stories about just like worship music and being involved in the church. And something I've super appreciated about Makers is just the inclusivity of everyone, being able to be involved on many different levels. And also with this project specifically, Justin and Mark, I think you guys did an awesome job of, just including as many people as we possibly could. We've got choir vocals, we've got instrumentalist and vocalist, and so that was a really special thing to be a part of. I know for me, and I've heard that from many of our other team members. So
Thanks, Martha.
kudos to both of you for wanting to include as many people as you could. I think that's super special.
Yeah, that was intentional. I mean, it was easy on one end because we have so many talented people, and then it was difficult because we have so many talented people. But Justin and I were like, we want to be as inclusive and diverse in the sound and project, and so yeah, super fun to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we want to spend a little bit of time chatting about the title track from our EP called Leave Me to Stay, which I know all three of you were involved in kind of the process of that song from beginning to end. So I just wanted to kind of ask like where the inspiration from that song came from and just how it all came to be, from start to finish. Did it start out with just one of you having some words or a melody? Just kind of tell us a little bit about that. Steve, I think you were primarily the person who had the idea of it. Is that right?
Yeah, so Justin had kind of a bass track that was pretty dope, just like a bass line and some other stuff going on. And so he had sent that over.
Get in there, yeah.
Yeah, so he had sent that over pretty early on. And what's funny is, it's hard to find time to sing at my house with my kids and my wife. But I was actually on a business trip to the East Coast. I was in Williamsburg, and kind of lonely. Like, I don't like taking business trips by myself. I'm in this hotel room, and yeah, kind of like, I don't know, kind of sad, right? I'm away from family, but I found some time to sing, and so it kind of came out as like a lament. So I started singing the song, and the lyrics that were coming out of my mouth was "Take Me Away." So that was actually the lead, like the main stay of the like melody and like the stand-in lyrics that I had written / just didn't really write it down. I just started singing it and recording. And so that was kind of that was the first line that kind of inspired this song. And then the melody kind of, some of that's still in there. But we were like, that's not the name, right? Take Me Away. It feels like, where's the, how does that, connect back to the gospel? And so that we ended up trying to figure out, okay, what's a more positive element to that? And it was like, well, we can talk more about this, but yeah, because there's a lot of collaboration on the writing, but Take Me Away, Leave Me to Stay, and we kind of riff on that throughout the song.
That's great.
Yeah, I recall. I remember Justin had written, like Steve said, wrote the bass track and sent it out to a few of us. And Steve came in with that like super awesome hook, the melody hook, and those lines. And then Carly had written the "Show Me God the Beauty in These Wounds" separately. And so then Justin and I organized this in-person meetup. This is all pre-COVID. So that was where we got to be in the same room finally, and we could listen to Steve's take. We could hear Carly's, and they were two different songs essentially, but they blended. And that's where we had, I know for me it was like, okay, let's give this song a story arc like a lot of Psalms have, where Psalm of David, he's so angry and angsty and honest and raw, and then not always, sometimes he stays in that place, but then sometimes it moves to like an authentic hope. And so that was kind of where we went from Take Me to Stay, Teach Me Your Way, or Take Me Away, Teach Me Your Ways, and then Leave Me to Stay. I remember injecting some things because like I'm a 5 as on the Enneagram, and when things get difficult, my default is to run away because it's easier to create distance and to cut ties than to actually like dig in and stay to do the hard work, whatever that looks like relationally, place like that. And so that kind of helped be a shape to it. But I want to hear Justin's. We can talk. I want to talk more about the bridge in a bit too, because that's like such a part of the song. Yeah. And Steve has such my favorite lyrics of the whole thing. Sorry, Martha and Justin, you guys.
Yeah, Justin, tell us a little bit about just kind of the whole process of working on the song and writing it with these guys. And I know that Carly and a couple of other people were involved here and there as well, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I write a bunch of stuff, and I have like 20 more demos of like potential songs for makers that I just write random things all the time. So this particular track, I had like a full song kind of done, like you would listen to it, and this feels like a real song.
Cool.
But it over time, this particular song was the most collaborative because it just evolved into a very different type of song while still retaining some of that kind of original stuff in there. But yeah, we talked a lot about, like, I was a lit major and I love story and narrative, and so we were talking about like a story arc within a song as well as about like an album. And for this particular song, it's really interesting, I think, how we tied like there's two lead vocals on the song. There's a male lead and then a female lead. And in the chorus, like they said, we go from a place of lament or maybe potential sadness at the beginning. Take me away, I don't want to be here. And that's from the Psalms. And then the male vocal changes every chorus. So it's like beginning, middle, and end. And so as the song progresses, that male vocal changes, but the female vocal that kind of responds to it actually stays the same. So it's like our response to these situations. Our situations might change, or our experience might change, but our response, I think, wanted to try and be the same throughout all of those.
Yeah.
And so
that female vocalist, show me God the beauty in these wounds. And so
Mhm.
that's really cool what Justin's saying, how that stays. It's like that wounding, like you're never wounding is a part of the human experience, like struggle, conflict, loss. It's a part of being alive. But it's like he's saying, that response to it, you see a growth and an evolution, which is, I think, super interesting and honest and really cool. So
yeah,
yeah,
the original track was pretty upbeat right from the very beginning because I wanted this to be like the #1 track that you hear, and it's super fun. And this song does get fun, but over time, us kind of crafting this sort of narrative within the song, we kept extending the intro and the first verse.
I forgot.
Steve and I were like,
that.
keep it just piano.
Dude,
and like,
we want
make
to
it
sit
longer.
in the vibe. And like, then now it's like 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes into the song is when like it really hits, which I really like as a, in terms of dynamics, I really enjoy that. But it's just interesting and fun how when people work together, sometimes it can be a struggle because sometimes it's hard to work with people, whether it's roommates or people you work with at work or at church. But ultimately, I think the end product is something that more accurately reflects the group and the community as a whole. And I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, I think that's really cool to think about and for people to hear about, because obviously with songwriting, you know, most people are hearing the end product of that rather than being part of the process. So I think it's always interesting for me when I have been part of either writing sessions or kind of coming in the middle and maybe giving my thoughts or takes on it. It's been always really cool to see where the song started and then where it ended up and how vastly different it is. And I think the storytelling aspect of it you touched on is very important, because even just changing tones and tenses of words, or you know, all that kind of stuff. So I personally love that it's more of like a celebratory song that does have some lamentation in it as well. But I heard a couple different iterations of the song as it was, you know, being formed. And so I think
I'd love to chat quickly too about the bridge.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask about.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's favorite part. It's such a cool part of the song. I personally love it. I loved being part of the choir vocals on it.
Sure.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about how that part kind of all came to be and why that was important to add it in.
I can kick it off and let Steve and Justin take it from there. Because it was fun. Like we talked about, the song began with voice memos where Justin crafted a track and sent it out. And then Steve and Carly sent back notes. And then it was when we actually got into the room together and it started to become a cohesive song. And it was getting to a really good place. Like we had the thematic movement of the lyrics. We had a verse and chorus that were coalescing. And I know for me, it felt like it was still, there was something missing a little bit. And I went over to the piano in Justin's place at his studio and just played those chords for the bridge. And I had a little bit a different syncopated groove. Like, oh man, I'm hearing this, like I want it to like break down, get big and break down and be this stripped down piano that grows. And so I played that, and then Steve was feeling that. And then I'll let Steve talk, but he came up with a really fun melody that has a lot, for me, a lot of groove to it. And then the lyrics went from there. And it's like the climax for me musically and thematically. And it helps bridge the gap between the first and second half of the song. So anyways,
Totally.
that was super fun how it came together in real time in person. So
so I was definitely digging that the bridge line you had kind of written, and so I basically drove home from Justin's, was sitting in my driveway at my old house, because again it's hard to sing inside a house with kids who are sleeping. This is a theme, you'll notice. And I'm just listening to it and was just starting to riff and started thinking, like singing about, how could we make this, how could the bridge be about like rising up? Like, so for whatever reason that was just in my mind. And then I cued into eyes up, like rise up, eyes up. And so, but it changes a bit, right? I don't actually off the top of my head remember the exact order, but it's like, I can rise up with my eyes up. And I will rise up, lift my eyes up. Like we'll have to look at this.
And then you say like, with my eyes up, I will rise up.
Yeah.
Which is it's really fun to sing and got a lot of meaning to it.
Yeah. So that was super fun, and recorded that and sent it over to you guys. I think even that night, because I was pretty stoked. I felt like it had a good vibe, and so that didn't change a whole lot from just that recording, but it was So that's that story.
And then Justin and we've talked about this in the last interview. Part of the sound we wanted to craft that we felt was really true to this new blended diverse makers team was leveraging choir vocals. So I don't know if Justin, if you want to talk about that. That was super fun, and I think that adds to me that like next level of energy and value to the song, having that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just think choir vocals does so much to a track, both musically, dynamically, as well as representing the church body more in a literal sense in the music. And it's just another way that we can get people involved to accurately kind of reflect how we generally do things at Makers. And so it's just a win-win-win-win-win situation, because it's fun, it's inclusive, and I think it sounds pretty incredible at the end of the day. And my whole mindset going into all of these was trying to get choir on every song, and dynamically throughout the song it'll come in kind of pieces, like in particular in this bridge, Steve starts it off with this kind of fun eyes up lyrics, and then we had a group of maybe four. Was it us four? Actually,
we
did
that.
that.
It was.
The four of us. Steve and I were there recording with you, and we just all said, let's do it. Let's do it. So Marc was singing and you were singing, Justin.
Yeah.
And it was really
Marc was singing. He's got, I can rise up, eyes up.
Hey, give me about
it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was great. Super low.
Also, let me get out of me singing.
But that very succinct kind of we spread out the different vocal parts so they're very tight and like punctuated. And then having the choir come in after that. It's just kind of building blocks to this big, full picture. yeah, so I think it's a really great tool, as well as it's just kind of fun and inclusive as the body.
Yeah, I love that. That actually leads into pretty perfectly the other thing that I wanted us to chat about, and it's more of like just kind of the production of it, and sort of maybe we've talked a little bit about the vocals and what our vision was for that, and kind of talked about the evolution of that, how it was like the four of us and then the big choir, and I mean all of those are actual voices. I feel like there's not a ton of stuff, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a ton of stuff, both instrument and vocal wise, that, is not our team, like actual people in some form. So I'd love to kind of talk just a little bit about that, because I feel like a lot of music these days has so many like fun tracks and bells and whistles. And I know we've had some of that in our stuff, but I think it's pretty cool that it's mostly like real people recording it, and then obviously you're producing it and mixing it and all of that. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about maybe kind of the ratio of like live stuff to extra little things you added in.
Yeah, I mean, as a producer, I approach each project as almost a fly on the wall. I want to try and make whatever artist, what is their kind of vibe or feel, and I want to just kind of help accentuate those things and elevate those things, as opposed to coming in and like, oh, you're an acoustic guitar player, you're gonna have to do all electronic stuff, because that's the only thing I do, which that's fine if everybody has their own workflow.
Yeah.
But for me, I try to basically partner with the artist, and it's very easy because I know all of our team really well. Yeah. And so I feel like the tracking went relatively quickly. I just really like a diverse amount of sounds while kind of having at least the approach. And this is actually tied to lyrics also and melody. I think something that we tried to do approaching production is thinking about it from a realistic perspective of like, if we're in a service and playing this song, or when we're writing, what would we do live if we were playing this song?
Yeah, how do you replicate it?
Yeah, a lot of it is stuff that we would do live. It may sound more polished or whatever on the recording, just because that's what happens in the studio. But lyrically also, we wanted a lot of the melodies to be relatively simple, and even the lyrics to be kind of again, simple, so that you could remember them, as well as we're not doing, generally speaking, we're thinking about the group as a whole. How best can we include people? And in terms of production, trying to have most of the stuff be live stuff. So I would say maybe 80% of it was live. And then I definitely love textures and bells and whistles and stuff. And so, but I don't want to rely on those things necessarily, depending on the project.
There's a lot of really cool guitar work on this one too, that was, our guitar players, who are all amazing, added a lot to it that wasn't necessarily, because when we're doing a lot of synth and keys and bass and drums, obviously, because Justin played drums on this track, we define a lot of that beforehand. But there was some freedom given to the guitar players, especially like Ryan's lead line. Dude, that's just Ryan shredding, which it sounds incredible.
Dude, I can hear it in my head right now. It's like,
so good.
He's so good at crafting, a melodic lead line that becomes, like you said, Steve, like it sticks in your head, and it adds a ton to the song. So that was fun. And then the vocalist, like obviously Steve, and then I think it's cool. Like Carly wrote that kind of tag Beauty and the Wounds vocal, but it was cool that she was open-handed, and Jasmine's actually the one who sings on the track.
Yeah.
She adds a really beautiful, it's like a vulnerable but powerful soul sound to it that was really cool. And Justin did a great job capturing that essence. And again, it fits really well with that choir sound, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then we even had Corey helped write that line, I believe, right? We had Corey come in and help us out with some of the lyrics.
For sure. Corey's a poet, spoken word artist, good friend of ours for many years, and she
out to Corey
contributed somewhere, and
I mean, even Alex helped
Yeah.
write the melody and the second verse.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she was in New York, so it's just
Yep.
really cool how
Very collaborative,
inclusive it is. Yeah.
coming together on this one.
Yeah, our Makers family extends, well beyond just San Diego, and I think that's been really fun too, to be able to involve some folks that have moved away but are still really part of our community. And so that's been really fun to kind of see all of that, in the songs that we're putting out. So I'm so excited to do more as our team, to write more songs, to be collaborating together. It's something I know that's been fun for us in this season, when we can't physically be together, just to like hang out and riff off of different ideas with each other. So I'm hoping that we'll have more new music for everyone really soon. But I think these 3 songs, I know that, I'm super proud to be a part of that and proud of our team.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And it's just been really, really fun. So speaking of fun, I'm going to end this interview with a fun question. Maybe you guys will think that it's not, but you will.
We'll be the judge of that, Mark.
Yeah, we can full vote on it.
Sounds good. So my question has nothing to do with worship music, but if you could be a part of any band or musical group that has ever existed or exists now, what would it be?
I mean, this answer would have changed for me through every year of my life. Like I said, when I was in high school.
Current answer today in today's world.
Current answer? I mean, I love Radiohead. I'd probably
Okay.
pick Radiohead.
Love it.
That's up there.
Steve, you got anything?
Yeah, I would pick Bon Iver, so Justin Vernon's band. I'm a big fan. My wife is not into it, but I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Boney Bear, so good.
Bon Iver, Bon Iver.
Yeah.
Did you see him live in San Diego when they were here a couple years ago?
Yeah, I've seen him a couple times.
Okay.
That's
so good.
Freckle show was Chef's Kiss. It was great.
Chef's kiss.
So tough.
Justin,
You're Italian?
Okay, 3 come to mind. Sorry, I'm Radiohead for sure. Led Zeppelin, and then The Roots.
Ooh.
If I had 3, Roots would have. Dude, you and I are so similar. When I was a high schooler, Led Zeppelin would have been in there for sure. Like 4 posters on my wall.
Yes.
But currently, if I could do more, Roots would be everything those guys put out. Is such a fun, soulful project. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
That's awesome.
What about you, Martha?
Yeah, tell us, Martha.
I would say Coldplay for sure.
Great.
It's always kind of been a consistent favorite of mine.
Sure.
Yeah, so I love them a lot. I've seen them in concert, and I also saw their documentary, which was super cool. Just the fact that they've been together since college, and
Is that Chris Martin calling you?
That'd be so.
I heard you wanted to be in my band.
We surprised you with a Coldplay Zoom jam. Is she on a work call now?
Who knows?
We lost her.
I'm sorry, my work phone started ringing, so I'm gonna say my answer again.
You can't edit this out. You have to leave it. People want real.
Anyway, all I was gonna say is that I love Coldplay because they've been together since college and they're still a band. They still love each other, and I just think that's really cool. And I feel like it's really evident in their music, and I love how their music has evolved, over the years. So that's my favorite band of all time. Love them. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. This has been really fun. I miss seeing all of you in person, but I'm super glad that we were able to have this chat. And I'm excited that these songs are out in the world and that people are learning more about how they came to be. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Martha.
Martha. Appreciate it.
Singing on the tracks as well. And thank you guys.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me be a part of it. Super fun. All right. Bye, everyone.
See you guys. Bye.
Okay, later.
You guys.